guys, it's Brooklyn here, and I am going to show you today how to make some 3D flowers for your pageant bodice. As we all know, if we're making a glitz dress, 3D objects are really important, and these 3D flowers are super simple and can really add a good pop of color to your dress design. So let's get started. What you're gonna need, just a second. Alright, so what you're going to need is the material that you want your flowers to be, a pair of scissors that you can cut wire with, a pair of sewing scissors, a lighter, glue sticks, and a glue gun plugged in and warmed up. And then you're going to need a fine gauge wire. I can't remember, let's see. This is 26 gauge that I'm using here, and it's just a fine, very pliable wire that I just buy in the jewelry section at Hobby Lobby. I know Joann's has it too, and so does Walmart. So just any really fine, pliable wire will work. And then you're also going to need a ruler and something to use to create your flower shape. I like permanent markers, some other types of pens and pencils, and today I'm going to be using some plastic spoons that have a rounded end. So first you're going to want to take your wire and you're going to want to cut however many lengths you need for your flower. So you need one length for every flower petal. So I'm going to do a five petaled flower. So I'm going to cut 5 lengths of wire. And I'm going to cut my wire to be 8 inches long. They don't all have to be exact because they are definitely going to get trimmed down later. But it's nice to start out with approximately the same amount of wire. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut these 5. Okay, now I have my 5 pieces of wire. I'm going to set the rest of the wire aside. Now, I've decided today that I'm going to use these 4 wooden spoons because this is the thickness that I want my flower petal shape to be. You can experiment with different things to find different sizes or different for different size flowers that you want to make. So I'm just going to wrap my wire around all of these spoons, and I'm just going to twist the ends together tightly until it is tightly secured there on my spoons. Now this is going to determine the size of that flower petal loop. So you can see I've just got my wire around my spoons and I've just twisted the ends together to secure that shape. I'm going to gently pull it off of the spoons here. And this is going to leave me with a shape like this. And at this point, I just kind of shape it a little bit with my fingers to get the shape that I want for my flower petal. So I'm just going to kind of widen the bottom here some. And then I'm going to kind of make a sort of a point up here at the tip. And then just kind of pull it back out. So when I'm done, I have a shape kind of like that. And that is the shape that I want my flower petals to be on my flower. So I'm going to repeat this 5 times. I'm only going to do 2 of them here on the video. I'll finish my flower later and post a picture. But I'm just going to show you again how I did this. So I've got all of my spoons here. Now again, you can use anything you want to get the size that you want for this. These 4 spoons are just the size and shape that I wanted my flower petal to be. So I'm going to wrap the wire around, and then I'm just going to start to twist the wires together here to secure them to this size. And then once it's nice and secure at that length, I'm just going to gently pull it off, and then I can shape it just like I did the first one, kind of rounding it out. I want to have a little bit of a point up at the tip of my flower until I have 2 flower petals here that look pretty much the same. Once you get all of your flower petals made like that, you're just going to open up your fabric so that the wrong side of it is up. So I'm just going to open up a length here. And I'm going to glue these wire petals onto my fabric. So I'm just going to take my glue gun and I'm going to run it right along the very edge and I just went around it here and created a very thin layer of glue on the wire, and then I'm just going to stick that right onto my fabric. I'm going to kind of pull off all the strings so that then my flower petal is glued to my fabric just like that. I'm going to repeat that with the second flower petal here. I'm just going to put a small strand of hot glue right along the wire circle for the petal, and then I'm going to glue the petal right onto my fabric. So now I've got 2 flower petals glued to my fabric like that. Now you want to give them just a minute for the hot glue to cool. It doesn't take very long. And then you're going to use your fabric scissors and you're just going to kind of cut them out. Now this one here I'm just going to fix really fast because my glue dried before I put it down because I was showing you my glue. And the finer that you do your glue when you're gluing these on, the less noticeable it will be. So it's good to take the time to just really make sure that the glue gets on there nice and thin. So my flower petal looks like this at this point. I'm just going to very carefully trim around this flower petal so that my fabric is the same size and shape as my petal. So now my flower petal looks like this on the wire side, and it looks like this on the fabric side, so you can't see the wire there. And then I'm going to repeat that same step really quick with my second flower petal. I'm just going to trim it out really close to the wire. Now that I've got my 2 flower petals cut out, I'm going to put another little layer of glue on the other side of the wire. And just make sure and keep this strand of glue really thin. And I'm just going to glue my flower petal to my fabric the other way. So now I have my fabric side up, and now I'm going to get fabric covering the other side of my flower petal. I'm going to repeat that with both petals. It's a thin layer of glue. And I'm going to go ahead and glue it down. I'm going to give those just a second to dry. Or cool down, I guess, since I'm using hot glue. And I'm going to go ahead and cut them out. So it looks like this at this point. And I'm going to go ahead and trim that other layer down. So now my flower petal looks like this on both sides. So you can see the metallic-y color, and you can't really see the wire except on the stem here where I'm holding it. And I'm going to just do that really quick on this other flower petal. Okay, so when I get them to this point, then I take my lighter, and this is especially important if you are using organza or a fabric like that that frays. This is Lycra, so it's not going to fray. So I don't really need to do this step, but I'm going to show you anyway so that you can do it if you're making organza flowers. So you just light your lighter, and you're just going to sear the edges of all of your flower petals, and this will kind of help to smooth it out and can smoothen up some of that glue. Just be really careful when you're doing this step that you don't accidentally melt the inside of the flower petal, because then you have to make a new one. So I'm just going to repeat that really quick with this other side here. So now I've got 2 flower petals that are ready to make a flower. At this point, I would want to make sure I have 5 of these to finish building my flower, but I'm going to kind of show you with just these 2. So I like to trim these off so that there's about a 1/2 centimeter of wire hanging out the end. So I'm going to do that with both of these. And then at this point, they're ready to start to glue together to form a flower. So you can kind of see with the 2 that I have here how they are starting to kind of create a flower shape. With that about a centimeter of the wire there placed together, they kind of fit perfectly to create a petal shape. But you'll also have to play with that depending on the size of petals you're wanting to do. So once you get all of your petals, you can glue them onto your dress in a flower shape like this, and then rhinestone around the edges of the flowers to give them a finished look. And that's how simple these 3D wire flowers are. Thanks for watching.